Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's prepared to discuss a formal neutral status for his country as part of talks to end Russia's invasion. But he insisted any proposal would need to be put to the Ukrainian people in a referendum and the outcome guaranteed by third parties. Meanwhile, the White House has clarified President Biden's comments, saying he was not calling for regime change in Moscow when the president said Vladimir Putin cannot remain in power. Thomas Morgan reports.
In the western city of Lviv, from their relative safety near the Polish border, they're now in a daily cycle of firefighting as the war reaches their doorstep. The next round of peace talks are due to start today in Istanbul. And speaking to independent Russian journalists, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he would be willing to discuss adopting a point of neutral status, a major bone of contention for Russia.
Security guarantees and neutrality, the non-nuclear status of our state, we are ready to go for it. This is the most important point. It was the main point for the Russian Federation as far as I can remember, and, if I remember correctly, this is why they started the war.
All this while American President Joe Biden was forced to deny claims that he called for a regime change in Russia on Saturday, whilst on a visit in Poland.
Mr. President, were you calling for regime change?
No.
The MOD say the battle across northern Ukraine remains largely static. No consolation for this man, however, in the northern city of Chernihiv, having just lost his son. We thought this door would protect us if something happened, he says. Suddenly I heard my wife crying and I realised what had happened. Strikes here north of the capital near the border with Belarus and Russia are frequent and devastating. Chernihiv is now almost completely encircled by Russian forces, with claims that tens of thousands could remain trapped, cut off from electricity and water. As Ukrainian army generals reiterate the call for weapons to help their cause, over 4 weeks into this conflict, there's little sign that peace is close to being found. Thomas Morgan, BBC News.
And joining me now is Petr Kozlov from BBC Russian. Petr, hello to you. Has there been any response yet, or what is the response likely to be from Moscow on President Zelensky's comments on neutrality?
Well, we're still waiting for any official position. We're waiting for the Kremlin press secretary Dmitry Peskov reacting today, because we still have not this. But what is important to know is that yesterday, even before this interview with Russian independent journalists was published, the Russian officials, Russian General Prosecutor Office issued a ban on publishing this interview, and the Russian Roskomnadzor body, they announced that they're going to investigate all the facts which led to the publication. So we know that this reaction is quite tough. So we're waiting what is going to happen next.
Potentially, though, Petr, could this be a pathway, if neutrality was agreed for Ukraine, could this be a pathway for President Putin to de-escalate, to in some way say he has achieved what he set out to do?
Well, possibly there is a possibility, but in fact, as we all know, there was like official position of Kremlin even before this war has started, is that Russia is waiting for a number of points to be fulfilled by Ukraine, and this is not the only one. So we don't know how Kremlin will react on only this position. And from this interview of Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, we know that the other parts of Russian, let's say, Russian demands is they're not going to discuss the demilitarization and denazification, which is like one of the key points of Moscow position. So it's difficult to make any prognosis. So it's difficult to say for sure.
And has there been any further reaction from Moscow to those comments by President Biden saying that Vladimir Putin couldn't remain in power, even though the White House subsequently denied, of course, that the US was looking for regime change?
Yeah, we'll hear the official position of the White House, and that it was the emotional reaction and it doesn't reflect the official position. But still, we know that the Kremlin and President Putin personally, they quite. They regard this as unacceptable, and they think that going over the personalities is unacceptable. So I'm afraid that this can make the negotiation process even more difficult between the Kremlin, between the President Putin, and between, let's say, US and the Western countries.
OK, Petr, thank you very much for that. Petr Kozlov from BBC Russian.